going to start the meeting for the committee as a whole for Human Resources and Education for April 3rd, 2014. Could I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hannigan?
Here.
Mrs. Hines?
Here.
Mr. Jarman?
Here.
Mr. Wu?
Here.
Mr. Harrell?
Here.
Mrs. Tipton? Here. Mr. Jeter?
Here.
Mrs. Seeley? Mr. Davenport?
Here.
Mr. Womack?
Here.
Mr. Payne?
Here.
Mr. Lamar?
Here.
Mr. Alfred?
Here.
Mrs. Belisario? Here. And Mrs. Mullins?
Present.
Seeley called. We'll be here in a few minutes.
She's
Okay, thank you. Would everyone please rise and join as Mr. Alfred says the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, bless each and every one of us tonight. Give us the strength to do your business that comes before this board tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Alfred. This evening we do have Dr. Charles Preston has requested 5 minutes on the agenda, so now we'll hear from Dr. Preston.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me your time. My name is Dr. Charles Preston, and I am running for St. Tammany Parish Coroner. As a board-certified emergency physician, I have maintain the functions of the coroner's office throughout my practice. The coroner's office is responsible for death investigation, but is also responsible for sexual assault investigation, mental health intervention, and administration. I worked at Charity Hospital for 20 years. So death investigation, sexual assault, psychiatric intervention, that's an afternoon in the emergency room at Charity Hospital, and I was there for 20 years. For the last 10 years, I've run Doctors Urgent Care in Slidell, which is a business that has about a $4 million budget with 25 employees, which is essentially equivalent to the coroner's office. So as far as the administrative function of the coroner, it is essentially a lateral move for me. I am the only candidate that is a retired physician, so this will not be a second job, it will be my only job. And my goal is to bring more business to government and a little less monkey business. Again, the election is this Saturday, and I appreciate you coming out and voting and considering me for your vote. And I will yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to move on to the agenda to item 5, approval of the minutes for the committee as a whole meeting held March 13th, 2014. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
Second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Betancourt, second by Mr. Jeter, excuse me. All those in, do we have any questions, comments for board members? Questions or comments from the public? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstain? Okay, thank you, motion carries. Okay, tonight we have Dr. Sanford is going to talk to us a little bit about the foreign exchange program. So Dr. Sanford, you are up.
Good evening, Mrs. Mollett, Mr. Foltz, and board members. I'm very pleased tonight to be doing a showcase of our foreign exchange program here in St. Tammany and talking with you about our 2013-14 school year placements. As you are very familiar, the foreign exchange program has been around for quite a period of time. And in St. Tammany, we work with 13 different organizations. And the way this process works is that the student in his or her home country fills out an application to apply for this program. Upon acceptance from the Foreign Exchange Agency, the agent then contacts me after they screen the students, and then I, per school board policy, screen the students to meet our criteria and speak with the appropriate principal of the receiving schools to make this connection. All of these agencies are approved based upon standards, so they're all very reputable companies. We have 13 students this year, and you might ask, well, Regina, how many students do we normally have? I reviewed the data for the past 5 years, and we've ranged from a low of 9 to a high of 17. And usually those numbers are dependent upon the agencies finding acceptable host parents for the students. The very first thing that we're going to do tonight is to quickly introduce the students through an animoto, thanks to Channel 13. Before I start, some of our seniors are on the senior trip, so I just want you to know that some of them are not with us tonight. So what I'm going to ask is that as I do an introduction about each student, I'm going to ask our superintendent if he would come down and join me. And the student, when I call your name, if you would please come join as well. From Covington High, we have Martina Ganji. Martina is a very intelligent, upbeat girl. She has made many new friends. She was a joy to teach this year. Well wishes from her Covington High family and safe travels home. Good luck in your senior year in Italy. And this is from Ms. Durapo, her Algebra 2 teacher. And she comes to us from Italy. Our second Covington High student is Anna Zigmoller. Anya's work ethic is remarkable. Oftentimes, she guides other students in the process of self-discovery of certain topics up for discussion. With that, she brings her own experience from Germany and her belief that are captivating in our classroom. I am beyond blessed to have the experience to work with her, and I only hope that she feels a fraction of that benefit in return, says Ms. Stella Wood, her English 3 teacher. Also from Covington High School is Caroline Van Roy. Caroline was an asset to our class, school, and community. She will be greatly missed by all here at Covington High. We wish her much success. Congratulations on graduating back at home, says Ms. Durapo, her Algebra 2 teacher. From Fontainebleau High is Jaylong Wang. Jaylong is enthusiastic about learning in the United States and enjoys sharing about his country. He is personable and has quite the sense of humor, as well as being an independent and diligent student who applies himself fully to every task, says his guidance counselor, Tony Mathern. From Lakeshore High, we have Kevin Van Schroel. Kevin comes from the Netherlands. He himself has joked, many here know comparatively little about the Netherlands other than windmills and wooden shoes. So while I hope he has learned much from me and his experience here at Lakeshore and living in Mandeville, he should know that when he returns home, he leaves having taught us so much as well, says Andrew Knock, his social studies teacher. Mandeville High has 3 students. The first is Duke Lee. He is described by his civics teacher, Mrs. Davis, as being a very funny young man with a great sense of humor and extremely hardworking. From Mandeville High. Also from Mandeville High is Valentina Timolova. Mrs. Davis, her civics teacher, describes her as being very sweet, intelligent, and a genuine pleasure to teach. She is my go-to person when I need help pronouncing Russian words. And she comes from the Czech Republic. Also at Mandeville High is Pia Winergier. Pia is described as graceful and kind and such a bright young lady. She's always ready with a smile, says Mrs. Davis, her civics teacher. And these 3 students, if you notice, had the same civics teacher. They also had the same math teacher. And Mr. Calvin Smith says of all 3 of these students that these student visitors from Norway, Vietnam, and the Czech Republic have been wonderful guests and excellent students. They have allowed their fellow students and the faculty to have a glimpse of how others accomplish similar objectives. From North Shore High, we have David Badakov. David's counselor, Miss Christine Nienaber, says that he instantly fit right in becoming very involved in the school community. He has truly made the most of his experience and will be sorely missed next year. And David is from Belgium.
Hold on a second. Here, take this pen. Thank you very much.
Also from North Shore High is Fariel Benassar. She comes to us from Tunisia. Jessica Weems, her art teacher, states, Fariel is a rare student who gives you a glimpse of humanity at its finest. I will miss her dearly. Also from North Shore High is Olga Vichushenko. Olga is sick tonight and could not join us. Her English teacher, Miss Nancy Hernandez, says of Olga, she's very enthusiastic about her involvement with the local Girl Scout chapter in Slidell. Her limitations with English did not prevent her from selling many boxes of Girl Scout cookies to her classmates. And she comes from Russia. From Slidell High, we have Michael Rao. Chef Woquin says of Michael, his mastery of the English language was never an issue, or for the other students in the class. He was always polite, attentive, and took the class very seriously. Michael was able to bring his German life into the study of American food and nutrition and has communicated freely about his home and his new experiences in Slidell. Michael Rau from Germany. Also from Slidell High is Brian Yu. Mr. St. Cyr, Brian's physics teacher, said that he added to everyone's learning experience this year. He's extremely bright and has already taken 2 years of physics in China, which led to many interesting comparisons of how the different topics were discussed in both the East and the West. He brought a great attitude and workmanship every day. And in closing, I think Mr. Calvin Smith from Mandeville High, who taught these 3 students from Mandeville, summed it up in a quote that I would like to read to you. We benefit greatly from foreign exchange students because our students have an opportunity to learn a lot culturally from our guests. I hope our visitors received as much from us as well. I think that's very fitting, and in talking with these students, I have not heard a negative comment at all about our school system, which is amazing. I think they enjoyed their experiences and all said they would do it again given the opportunity. I would like to acknowledge the administrators, would you please stand, who have come here to support their students tonight. I would also like to ask all of the host families and foreign exchange representatives to stand because they opened their doors and their homes to these students and became servants. And thank you, Board.
Dr. Sanford, thank you so much for introducing us to these wonderful foreign exchange students. And we hope that they will have fond memories of being in our school system for this year and come back again and see us when you're back in the States. Do we have any other questions or comments from board members? Mr. Alford?
Thank you very much. Mrs. Stanford, Dr. Stanford, I would love for one of the kids to come up and kind of tell us their experience they've had. If one of the kids could come up
Do I have a volunteer?
There we go.
My name is Brian Yu. I'm from Slidell High School. I'm an exchange student from China. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thanks for this organization to give me the chance to go to America to study, because this is totally different. Like in China, I have 14 hours school, so like I pay most attention on the school. I don't have time to social and play. So when I go to America, I only have 7 hours. Then, yeah. So it's just like a vacation for me. Yeah.
Okay, that's enough.
So after school, I just have time to socialize, like I hang out with friends, we have parties, I can play pool. I think this is different, but I like the life in America, honestly. So I just choose to go to college here. And also I need to thank for my host dad and my host family, Kim and Nikki. At the beginning, my English was really good. So when I have homework in English 4, every time Kim will just check my homework and help me to fix the grammar mistakes. So I think my English just improved a lot. So I need to thank them, and also for the food and place. And I think like the education between China and America is totally different. Like in China, the students, if they have time, they just put the time to study. So my dad see this, he doesn't want me to just know how to study, so he just sent me to America. At the beginning, I just miss my family, miss my country, and miss the Chinese food. But just after several months staying with King and Nikki, I just get used to life in America. They are my second parents, so really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a treat to hear that, so
That
thank
was
you.
wonderful. Mr. Betancourt?
Thank you, Ms. Mullen. Dr. Sanford,
Yes, sir.
would you, if you can, would you explain, I know we're not the only system that does exchange students, so from a foreign country, how do they end up in St. Tammany
Well, they do an
Parish?
application in their home country, and they are screened by the appropriate agency. And then the agency, depending upon what they put as their geographic area, they will then look for host families in that area. So after they've screened the students and they come to St. Tammany, we screen the students per school board policy. We want a certain age, we want a certain English ability, speaking ability, so that they can be successful in the classroom. And so then I interact with the agent as well as the principal for acceptance.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Any other questions from board members? Thank you so very much. It was a wonderful
And let me say,
presentation.
thank you for Dr. Sanford for coordinating this and spearheading this program, and also doing a great job announcing the names tonight. You did great.
Absolutely. There's no other business to be brought forward, so this meeting is adjourned, and we will start the next meeting in 5 minutes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call the meeting to order, please, for the St. Tammany Parish School Board Committee as a whole meeting, April 3rd, 2014, for Business Affairs and Administration. Roll call, please, Ms. Debbie.
Mr. German.
Here.
Mr. Hannigan. Here. Mrs. Hines. Here. Mr. Luke.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
Mrs. Tipton. Here. Mr. Jeter.
Here.
Mrs. Seeley. Here. Mr. Smalley. Present. Mr. Betancourt.
Here.
Mr. Womack.
Here.
Mr. Payne.
Here.
Mr. Lamar.
Here.
Mr. Alford.
Here.
Mrs. Belisario. Here.
Thank you very much. We're going to dispense with the invocation and the pledge at this time, and no one requested time on our agenda tonight. So we're going to move to item 4, which is approval of the minutes for committee as a whole meeting held March 13th, 2014. Do I have a motion, please?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Womack, seconded by Ms. Seeley. Any questions or comments by board members? Members of the public? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Oppose? Abstain? So ordered. Next is item 5, administrative. Mr. Jabbia.
Thank you, Mr. Darman. We have your monthly maintenance and custodial report is in your packet. Mr. Singletary is at a state meeting, but Mr. Barker is here if you have any questions.
Do we have any questions by board members about the monthly maintenance? Seeing none, Mr. Jabbia.
Monthly risk management report is in your packet. Kurt Gaspard is here in case you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Gaspar? Mr. Jabbia.
Thank you. Monthly transportation report is in your packet. Ms. Amy and her staff is here if you have any questions. And then after that, I have a report I need to make, as you asked last time, a report on the used buses. I'll give that once you see if there's any questions.
Any questions or, yes, for transportation. Mr. Betancourt.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. I just wanted to know from Ms. Amy there, is everybody well at transportation? Are we staffed again?
We are staffed.
All right, good. It's good to see y'all back.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jabbia, you said any other questions by board members? Seeing none.
Thank you, Mr. Darman. At the last meeting, we told we make a report tonight regarding the status of used school buses. And to bring everyone up to date, in Bulletin 119, which is the Louisiana School Transportation Specifications and Procedures brochure put out by Bessie, there's some regulations regarding the purchase of used buses. And I'll give you the old law. All replacement school buses at the time they are acquired by the owner must be 10 or less model years old for all owner operators in school districts. The number of years shall be reckoned from the date of the model year. And then it goes on to say that school buses shall not exceed the age of 25 model years. So to put this in terms to where if you have a question about it, is if we had a bus driver who retired or decided to do something else, left the system, and his bus was over 10 years old, we could not buy that bus, he could not sell that bus to us. Yet if he stayed in the system with that same bus, he could drive it for 25 years. Mr. Derman and Mr. Harrell were very instrumental in working with Danny Garrett and Mr. Foss and the Bessie Board. And the Bessie Board at the last meeting did make a change. And the change now says replacement school buses at the time they are acquired by the owner must be 10 or less model years old for owners, operators, and school districts, unless acquired from an owner who has operated the school bus for not less than 2 years in the same school district as the school bus will be operated after acquisition. Which means if we have one of our drivers who leave and they've been in the system for at least 2 years, we know the bus, even though the bus is over 10 years old, we're going to use it in our district, we can purchase that bus. And I say we being another driver, maybe an applicant. Buses these days run between $70,000 and $80,000 for a new bus. So it's very difficult right now for us to find bus drivers. They don't want to invest the money. This is going to help us tremendously, I think, for being able to acquire used buses that are over 10 years of age. And then it goes on to say that no school bus shall be used by or for a school system in Louisiana after it exceeds the age of 25 model years. So this has been adopted by Bessie. It's gone out for what they call the publish it in the register. It's going to happen for about probably another 20 or 30 days. This should become official after the June Bessie meeting, so it will be effective for our next school year, and we'll be able to use that. And Mr. Foss, anything you'd like to add?
No, I think it's important that we looked at it different ways and spoke to bus drivers in our parish and got their input as well. And this does not extend the amount of time that a bus will be on the road. All it does is allow more than one owner for that same period of time, which will allow us, in our need for bus owner operators, to have another opportunity for someone to purchase someone else's bus. So we certainly appreciate the effort of Mr. Derman and Mr. Harrell. Jim Garvey from Bessie was helpful as well. So a good example of everybody working together to do something that certainly benefits our school system.
Right.
Thank
Questions?
you. Any questions by board members? Mr. Alfred.
I'm not sure of this, but for buses for sporting events and things like that, can the school buy those buses like that?
Can the school?
If that's over 10 years of age?
Yes, sir.
So, but just bus drivers are the only ones where we had the problem with.
No.
No, you couldn't use them before. Once they were out, you couldn't bring them back in. But now you will be able to. A school could actually buy a bus from a bus driver that's over 10 years old now.
But they couldn't before?
They couldn't before.
Okay, that's
But it's in our parish only, it's transferred.
It's only for our parish,
Within
that's
the
correct.
parish.
Okay. Okay, good.
So I think it's going to help us in a number of ways.
And also, Kathy, how often is it? Twice a year that buses are inspected? So that will continue as well. So all those safeguards will still be in place.
Any other questions or comments by board members? I have one other little quick comment, and it's also an asset, again, to our bus operators in the event that they reach retirement age and have a bus that is 10 or 12, 15 years old, and they basically can't sell the bus. So this affords them an opportunity to transfer that vehicle to another operator within our system and us continue the operation of that bus because it's a bus that's common to us. So it really benefits our bus operators in the long run. So, I mean, I think this is a win-win situation. I also want to mention Scott Simon's help with this as well because he was going to actually put it forth legislation if it wasn't taken care of through the BESI regulations, but I still want to mention his help in this issue too. Any other comments, Charles?
I think that covers it well. It was a win-win for everyone, I think.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mr. Jabian.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Okay. And I've lost my agenda, so I guess we're through. Just kidding, I found it. All right, moving on to item 6, which is construction. Ms. Tipton.
Thank you. We have a couple of bids for you here tonight. The first one, we are recommending acceptance of the low base bid submitted by Roof Technologies Incorporated in the amount of $308,800 for the roofing of the cafeteria and classroom buildings at Lee Road Junior High School, St. Tammany Parish School Board Project number 1320.
Moved by Mr. Loop, second by Ms. Heinz. Any comments or questions by board members? I have one, Ms. Tipton.
Yes, sir.
The last time we had a roof project at Lee Road, we had an issue. Is this a different contractor or is it the same contractor?
This is a different contractor, yes, sir.
Okay, just curious. Thank you. No other comments from board members? Any from the public? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? So ordered. Thank you.
Item number 2, we are recommending acceptance of the low base bid submitted by Brazos Industries, LLC, in the amount of $599,672 for the Phase 1 renovations at Fountainblue High School, St. Tammany Parish School Board Project number 1460.
Moved by Mr. Betancourt, seconded by Ms. Tipton. Any comments? Mr. Betancourt.
Thank you, Mr. Durham. Cameron, I know the other bid, those were pretty close. This bid here for Fountainbleau goes from the winning bid all the way to 1.1 million. Any thoughts on, I mean, even the second lowest bidder was $150,000 off.
Yes, sir. The only comments I would have about that is some of the higher ones I notice are general contractors, or the highest is general contractor, who would have had subs to do most of this work. This work is primarily repair and recoating of the metal roofing, and then masonry restoration, cleaning and waterproofing of the masonry, and some painting on the exterior. This is the type of work that the low bidder does, so it just may have been that they
I
were more
think
efficient.
I've heard that, they've done jobs for us before, haven't they?
No, sir, they have not worked for us. They're out of Baton Rouge. They did the roof system for McNeese State University Gymnasium. They did the natatorium metal roof coating for LSU. They've worked at Texas A&M on several buildings and worked on the Superdome at one time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions by board members from the public? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? So ordered.
Thank you. Next item is we are recommending acceptance of the low base bid submitted by Fishers Incorporated in the amount of $266,600 for the re-roofing of the old 6th grade wing at Slidell Junior High School, St. Tammany Parish School Board Project number 1321.
Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Lamarck, second by Ms. Mullet. Any questions or comments by board members from the public? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Oppose? Abstain? So ordered.
Thank you. The next item is consideration of action with respect to Woodlake Elementary School renovations St. Tammany Parish School Board Project Number 0820.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Foltz.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. Tonight, board members, at your seat, and as part of your packet, you will find a memo from Ms. Tipton to myself where we would like to bring up to discussion tonight the placing the contractor Olympic Group LLC in default of the above referenced project, which is Woodlake Elementary School renovations. This action is certainly something that we don't take lightly and something that we've continued to work as long as we thought possible to not come to you tonight with this conclusion, but we do believe that we had exhausted all of our efforts and have no other option to do this. So what I would like to do is make Ms. Tipton, Mr. Petuzak, Mr. Pittman available to answer any questions you may have about the process, what it involves, and then hopefully, if you're fine with this, have a motion so that we can proceed in this action.
Thank you, Mr. Foltz. Would you like Mr. Petuzak maybe to come
That'd be
and
great.
address us before we start with questions, please?
That'd be great.
What we're here tonight to talk about is placing this particular contractor in default. And that process takes place by sending the contractor a notice of default, in which he currently is now and has been for some time. Also, as well, to notify the surety for this contractor of the fact that we've taken the steps to place his contractor in default. After we do that, we then will file a formal notice of default in the public record. After that, we will then get in touch with the surety, and the surety has basically two choices. One is to enter into an agreement with us to bring on a follow-on contractor to complete the job as originally prepared and bid, or to, if they refuse to do that, we then would go and, from where we are now, come up with new plans, go out for bids, take the contractor, and then the surety would be required, pursuant to the suretyship, to pay for 100% of that cost. At this point, we don't know the position of the surety precisely. We've had some discussions with the attorney for the surety, and their position, of course, is we'll do nothing until you make the decision as to whether or not you're going to put the contractor in default. The default is necessary, one, as I just stated, to have the surety make a decision, and then secondly, too, as well, we've been starting to get claims from material men and suppliers and laborers who the contractor has not paid. And in order to set the period within which those claims must be made, it's required that you move forward initially with this notice of default, and then they have a specified statutory period of time within which to file their claims, or thereafter they're lost. So that is what we're proposing, and that's the process that we will go through.
Ms. Tipton.
Thank you, Mr. Darren. I have one question. Will it cost our school system any more money?
It ought not in this case, to the extent that this is 100% suretyship, which this board requires. You're only under law required to have a 50%, but we always insure and demand 100%. So it may in the short term, but in the long term, if everything goes well, we will wind up coming out whole financially.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are any more questions, I'd like to make a motion after this.
Well, we can take a motion, and then if you want, we can have more discussion.
Okay. I would like to move that this board authorize the superintendent to take the appropriate steps to ensure the completion of the construction of Woodlake Elementary School renovation, St. Tammany Parish School Board Project 0820, at the earliest possible time and at the least cost.
Okay. Second by Ms. Belisario. Mr. Bettencourt.
Assuming this all gets worked out, what happens if this same company bids on something in the future? Are they still going to be allowed to do that, or do the antennas go up, or what? Suppose they're the low bid on some other project 2 years from now, or whatever.
Well, we can't stop them from placing a bid if they wish, but of course, we would have the right to determine at that time whether or not they've become responsible, which of course at this time they do not appear to be. And it appears as though they're not even in existence anymore, so that's another issue. But we can't stop them from bidding.
Right, okay, thank you.
Ms. Heinz.
Ms. Tipton, if we have to go out for bids, I'm wondering how long we could expect this to drag on, or the renovation of the classroom wing. A school year, over the summer? I know that's pretty ambitious.
I think this is something where we need to take this first step, see where the bonding company stands on it and what thoughts they have on that. But if it comes to us needing to put this back out for bids, there will be a period of time where we need the architect to do drawings that show what needs to be done from this point going forward so that we can receive bids. It would follow the same process and format that we're going through now to get jobs ready to be advertised for bids and then receive bids, if that's the direction that we end up having to go. And there would be a period of time for whoever the low bidder was under contract to complete the work. So those are details that we will know more about as we go forward and be able to give you status updates as we go.
We would appreciate those status updates.
And I think it's going to be important. What we plan on doing is communicating this with the principal and asking her how she thinks it would be best to communicate to the parents and faculty and staff as well, whether that be a letter home from the principal and myself or other notification through the PTAs and things like that. We'll get that in place once we know a little bit more about how we're going to proceed.
Thank Mr. Alford.
The surety bond, that process, could you explain that process to us, Harry? How long it for them to get on board with us, to intervene, or do we have to wait another 3 months before all this is done?
No, once we go forward with the notice of default, as I've already indicated, we've been in touch with them. They will want to have certain information as well in terms of how far the project is along, how much money is left, and those types of matters. And at this point, I don't know what their position would be, as Ms. Tipton says. If they decide to get a follow-on contractor, there still will be some delay, but there won't be as much as if we have to go back and redraw and specify and rebid. But the process is they're legally bound, pursuant to their suretyship, to either complete the job or to pay for the cost of it.
Now, the company that is in default, do they have any legal grounds to slow this process down any?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, now they could attempt to go to court and attempt to get an injunction, but they would not get very far.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions by board members? Seeing none. Any from the public? Okay. Also, let's go ahead and we'll take the motion that's on the floor to start the legal process, offered up by Ms. Tipton. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? So ordered.
Thank you. My last item is the monthly construction report. I'll give you just a brief report of where we are currently with construction items and answer any questions that you may have. All of our bond issue projects, they're continuing to progress. We're in design phases. We've been back or are scheduled to go back again to Fontainebleau Junior, Pontchartrain, and Tchefuncta, Madisonville Elementary, Mandeville Elementary. We were there today, actually. Lyon Elementary, Abney, Shataima, Clearwood, and Carolyn Park. Those are moving along very well. We've been back as well to Covington High, Bonnie Cole, and Slidell Junior to review schematic design plans with the principals. Architects and engineers are still working to determine the best phasing for those jobs. And will come back to us, and we'll go back to the schools with that. The construction department staff has met with architects to review progress on development of preliminary design ideas at Pearl River High School and Slidell High School. We were actually at Slidell High yesterday with the principal and his staff, and we also have a meeting scheduled for Pearl River next week. The architect for North Shore High, he visited a ProStart classroom during the staff-only day in March, and also went back to North Shore that day. And we're looking to meet with the school there soon. They've got some preliminary schematic designs and phasing to look at. And our summer projects, you've accepted some more bids tonight. Contracts are being signed on the ones that we brought to you last month, and we're beginning to schedule pre-construction meetings for those jobs and looking towards the summer, which will be starting very soon. So we'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, Mr. Hennigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Tipton, can you venture to guess when the Pontchartrain building replacement will be complete? Is that like 2 years, do you think?
It may be something like that. We're going to begin to see better where the schedules are going to fall out and when jobs will be ready to bid very soon, and I think we'll have a better feel for that as we go forward, and we'll be able to share that with the board.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Alford.
Thank you, Mike. The Barnett and Little Oak water and sewer systems, will we be able to get that done this summer?
No, sir, we don't foresee that at this time. We're working through some issues relative to how we might best go about that project, and we will be back with you to give you our thoughts on that when we're
So
more
what you
sure
look
about
at
it.
as a timetable for that?
I think that, I can't really say for sure yet. We're dealing with parish officials as well as cities officials and trying to come up with whatever option that would be the best for the school system, both speed-wise and monetarily wise. So as soon as we know a little bit more about that, I'll be able to give you a report. But I think right now it's just too early. Depending on which agency is willing to partner with us, will determine where we go with this.
Okay.
I think there is a lot of the work that can be done even during a school year, and then they'll have to time some of the changeovers in those utilities. So the summer is not necessarily definite in terms of having to do it at that time to make it work.
Just related, how many other systems we have that the water and sewage is not, that we control, the water and sewage?
I don't have that with me tonight, but we have
About
been
3?
looking at that, Mr.
No.
Alford, and looking into that a little bit.
My recollection was 8, I believe.
8?
Across the parish.
Across the parish?
Yes.
Okay. And that's our goal, is to eventually switch over to those, right?
Always, anytime we get a chance. If anybody gets close, we do what we can to tie in. We are in the education business and not the sewer and water. So wherever we can tie in, we certainly would do our best to do that.
I don't know, sometimes it seems like we're in it.
Thank you.
Ms. Seeley.
Thank you, Mr. Derman. When a project is in the architect's phase, just out of curiosity, this is for general purposes, how long does it usually take as far as the time frame goes from getting the plans together and so forth?
It can vary, but it's generally going to take a good 9 months to a year in some cases, and it just depends on the complexity of a project and what's involved for them to get all that thought through, worked out, detailed, drawn, coordinated with their engineers and with governmental agencies and others. So there's a lot involved in that.
So generally speaking, from 9 months to a year, maybe any further than that, would you say? Or?
It could, but I think that, that's a good average.
And I know for some people, especially if you're anxious to have something done, that sounds like a long time. But it's also, you have to be careful to be quick in the beginning and then put a product on paper that cannot meet the specs of what needs to be done. So it's a balancing act between working as hard as you can, as quick as you can, but making a product that everyone can follow and build a really good product.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions by board members? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to the next section, which is item 7, business affairs. Ms. Prevost.
Consideration of change to small purchase policy. There is a memorandum in your package that explains the proposed change, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Do y'all want to have a little discussion, or do we get a motion first and then discuss? Okay. Motion by Ms. Heinz, second by Ms. Seeley. Any questions or comments by board members? Mr. Betancourt.
Terry. I'm looking, it said 2,768 purchase orders were under 1,000.
That's
But
correct.
rounding that off, that's still what, 2-point-something million dollars?
Well, they could be anything, they could be very small, so there's not a
I
dollar
ju-
number
I
with
mean,
that.
is there gonna be something in place that's still gonna try and get the best price for something?
Oh, yes. We always encourage people to get quotes, but it wouldn't be required on those under, we have purchase orders for $200, $100. It's
Yeah.
just not cost effective with the paper and the time it takes. to
Yeah,
do
that
it.
part I understand, but it's still gonna be
Yes.
trying to
Everything
get the
over
best
1,000
price for
will still
whether it's
require this
pencils or whatever.
Absolutely, and part of this process, the purchasing department review, will continue to review all the purchases by the schools. I mean, each school wants to get the best price because they want to save as much money as possible, but from our point of view, in the purchasing department, we will continue to monitor their purchases, and if we see anything that runs a red flag to us, we will certainly discuss it with those individual schools. What this is asking to do is to raise the number, the minimum from $500 to $1,000. The $500 have been in place since 1985, I believe. We've been at the $500 mark. So this is raising it to $1,000. We've also, checked with other governmental agencies as well as other school systems, and this number is in line with what others is doing as well.
Thank you.
And it doesn't impact anything other than that amount.
Okay. Any other board members got questions, comments? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstain? So ordered. Ms. Prios, monthly purchasing.
The monthly purchasing report is in your packets, and Mrs. Stevens is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, I think you did a great job tonight. Okay, announcements from the president. I think Ms. Araby has a comment or announcement. Are you going to do yours? Oh, I didn't know you had yours.
Thank you, Mr. Durbin. We'd like to thank the students from Abney Elementary School for their art and sculptures on display in the atrium this month. These art teachers are Ms. Irit Sirks and Ms. Patricia Hahn. Also, a reception honoring the 2013-2014 Students of the Year, Support Employees of the Year, and Substitute of the Year will be held at the Brooks Educational Complex in Slidell on Thursday, April 10th at 6 p.m. The regular board meeting will be held at the Brooks Educational Complex in Slidell on Thursday, April 10th at 7 p.m. Ms. Araby's going to make an announcement after adjournment.
After adjournment? Okay. Well, seeing nothing else come before this board, we're adjourned.